also did an interview out here saying, I'm like, why would this dude even fix his mouth to say something about my charge?
Martell Holt has reached a point in his life where the truth can't stay buried anymore. At 42, he's standing in the middle of a storm he created with his own hands, his own choices, and his own anger. And the wild part?
So what's the problem with you then?
Every time he opens his mouth and say something about Marcel, he gonna be talking about Martell.
You never say
Marcel gonna tell about what Marcel knows about Martell. I'm telling you right now, I don't have no respect for you.
Okay, you it's like dude code, and it's like we together. I'm not saying nothing about it. You fucking real together.
Where the pictures at, Martell? Let me see.
She's the my boy.
What's that?
Go ahead and say your shit. I'm gonna shoot my
Big fella, keep going, big fella.
I'm done. Hold on.
This time, Martell didn't just get exposed by fans, cast members, or gossip pages. He exposed himself. Every word he said, every move he made, and every reckless outburst pushed him deeper into a hole he can't climb out of. It's almost like he lit the match, threw it at his own feet, and then acted surprised when the fire started spreading.
Backwards, allegedly.
This is so sad.
It seems.
No, it's not.
Hold on,
real.
hold
You're a
on.
pathetic.
Martell
No,
Melody,
you are.
hold on,
Your
please,
little ugly shoes.
please,
Oh,
hold on, hold on.
Okay.
Destiny.
I don't want nothing and don't need nothing. God is my source and has been since I left your dusty ass.
Okay.
And now the world is watching him unravel in real time, not because someone else told his story, but because he finally showed who he really is. What nobody expected is that the moment Martell tried to shift blame, point fingers, and drag others into drama, the spotlight snapped right back onto him. And suddenly, all the lies, excuses, and deflections he used to hide behind stopped working. People aren't buying it anymore. Fans aren't sympathizing. Even those who once defended him are stepping back because the pattern is too clear, too loud, and too exhausting to ignore. But here's what makes this moment different. Martell isn't the man who once charmed an entire audience with that polished smile and confident walk.
I just hate that this narrative is going around and, bloggers picking things up and, certain people trying to destroy me. But it's not going to happen, though. I'm not going to allow it to happen.
This version of Martell looks tired, frustrated, and cornered. He's fighting old battles, creating new ones, and blaming everyone except the one person responsible, himself. And at 42, that truth is hitting harder than ever. But how did he get here? How did Martell Holt, once seen as a successful family man and businessman, become the center of controversy he can't escape? And why, after everything he's been through, does it feel like he's determined to spiral deeper instead of doing the work to heal? Let's go back, because to understand this moment, you have to see the path that led him here.
Part of the harassing communications was you sending a picture.
No.
That makes me lose respect for Martell.
If it was true.
I assumed it was true.
You assumed it
now that
was?
he's saying that it's not true, how do you feel about it?
I don't know if I would believe Martell.
You don't believe me? I've been a liar about things that we've been through over the years, and a lot of experiences that you've had with me. I've been a liar.
Yeah.
Before the cheating scandals, before the explosive reunions, before the chaos of social media, Martell Holt was a man who seemed to have everything lined up. He had a beautiful family with Melody, a growing business, and a future that looked promising. On the outside, it seemed like the Holts were becoming Huntsville's power couple, educated, ambitious, and inspiring people with their story.
Why he would say that, why he would throw me in the middle of that. And so him and Marcel was going back and forth. Unfortunately, edits didn't show what Marcel said, but they showed what what Martell said. So you guys really didn't see or hear everything that Marcel was saying to him, because Marcel was dropping receipts and he was naming guys who Martell have slept with in Huntsville.
That's okay. We gotta say a legend.
No, it's not a legend. It's not a
I mean,
legend.
this is.
Because Carlos, let me tell you. So you guys have known. You said that I've been quiet. I know a lot more than what I say. And for years, Marcel have been like, no, T, don't do that. No, T, don't do that. And we really have been trying not to go there with Martell, because
When Love and Marriage, Huntsville first introduced them, viewers admired the discipline, drive, and unity they displayed. Melody was radiant, sharp, and unstoppable. Martell looked like the supportive husband who stood proudly beside her. But that picture was only one side of the truth. Behind closed doors, Martell was struggling with insecurity, ego, and a desire for control he couldn't fully explain. He wanted success but also craved validation. He wanted admiration yet couldn't stand when anyone else shined brighter. And the more Melody grew artistically, professionally, emotionally, the more Martell slipped into behaviors he later claimed he didn't understand. Their marriage wasn't perfect, no marriage is. But instead of facing the cracks in their relationship, Martell created new ones by reaching for someone outside. His long-term affair with Ariane Curry wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice he continued making over and over even as Melody begged him to stop. Even when fans thought the Holts were rebuilding. Even when it was clear the affair was killing everything they had built together. The moment the world learned about the baby outside of his marriage was the moment Martell's life changed permanently. Viewers who once respected him started seeing a man who didn't understand boundaries, loyalty, or consequences. His reputation began crumbling, and instead of repairing the damage with honesty and accountability, Martell tried to shift the narrative. He blamed Melody for not giving him enough attention. He blamed the show for exposing him. He blamed everyone except the one person who made the decision to betray his family. And then came the custody battles, the emotional outbursts online, the interviews where he insisted he wasn't the villain. Martell tried everything to control the narrative, but the truth kept slipping through the cracks. Every time he tried to speak, it made things worse. Every time he tried to protect his image, it slipped further out of reach. Years later, instead of evolving from the mistakes that tore his marriage apart, Martell seemed stuck in a cycle of drama, conflict, and denial. His relationships with the cast became strained. His partnership with Melody dissolved into painful co-parenting struggles. And his attempts to rebuild his public image kept failing because he refused to face the root of the problem. And now, at 42, everything he tried to hide, the jealousy, the insecurity, the emotional chaos, the need to deflect, is standing right beside him, fully exposed. The question is, what pushed him over the edge this time? Why are fans saying Martell finally exposed himself? And what did he do that made people realize he can't hide anymore? Let's get into it, because the latest chapter of Martell Holt's story might be the most dramatic one yet. Everything exploded the moment Martell tried to drag the Scotts into a new wave of accusations. Out of nowhere, he started pointing fingers at Marceau and Letitia, stirring old rumors and throwing new claims into the fire. And this wasn't a quiet conversation or a private argument. Martell brought it straight to the public, cameras rolling, voices raised, and no filter in sight. It felt like he wanted to distract the world from something, but instead, he drew attention to himself in the worst way possible. He accused Marceau of infidelity again, even though that rumor had already died down. People brushed it off years ago because Martell never brought receipts. But suddenly, he decided to resurrect it, and this time he went even further. He didn't just question Marceau's loyalty, he claimed Letitia had been involved with one of his own friends. That claim was wild enough to shock the entire fanbase. Social media erupted. Fans split into two camps: those who believed Martell had nothing to lose and might be telling the truth, and those who believed he was spiraling and looking for someone else to take the fall. But here's the twist. The moment he opened that door, people started seeing through the act. His accusations didn't feel intentional. They felt desperate, reckless, uncontrolled. Like a man grasping at anything to avoid confronting the drama happening in his own life. Fans started asking, what is Martell trying to cover up now? Because every time he shifts the blame, there's usually something he doesn't want the public to notice. One Reddit comment summed up the mood perfectly. Martell always starts chaos when his own skeletons are about to fall out. It's his pattern. And the more Martell talked, the more exposed he became. Because when people pressed him for proof, he had nothing. No texts. No screenshots. No photos. Nothing that supported the explosive claims he made with full confidence. It felt like he was swinging wildly in the dark, hoping something would land. But instead of landing, he slipped. He slipped because fans connected the dots faster than he expected. They noticed that Martell always attacks other people's relationships when his own personal life is falling apart behind the scenes. And recently, Martell has been dealing with more issues than he wants the world to know. Co-parenting tensions with Melody. Financial struggles people kept whispering about. Public criticisms of his behavior on set. Rumors about new conflicts behind the scenes. And the biggest one, ongoing issues in his personal relationships that he refuses to discuss. The stress became too heavy, and instead of facing it, Martell pointed in every other direction. But what nobody expected was that the Scotts wouldn't play along. Marceau didn't explode. He didn't argue. He didn't clap back. He stayed calm, too calm for Martell's liking. People said Marceau looked like a man who knew the accusations had no weight. And the calmer he stayed, the more unhinged Martell appeared. Then Letitia entered the conversation, emotional, protective, and ready to stand up for her marriage. She defended Marceau fiercely, insisting that Martell's claims were nothing more than lies meant to damage their family. She even suggested people were being paid to create drama. Her passion only made Martell look more unstable, because her conviction was real. Meanwhile, his energy felt chaotic, scattered, heated, and desperate for attention. And this is where Martell truly exposed himself. Because instead of backing down, he doubled down. He tried to drag more people into the mess. He tried to force a narrative that wasn't sticking. And in that process, he revealed a truth the public had been sensing for a long time. Martell Holt doesn't know how to live without drama. He doesn't know how to grow without chaos. He doesn't know how to accept responsibility without blaming someone else. And when you reach 42 years old and still rely on the same toxic patterns, people stop sympathizing. They stop giving second chances. They stop believing the stories you tell. Fans began saying that Martell wasn't exposing the Scotts, he was exposing his own emotional state. His own insecurities. His own fear of being forgotten. His own fear of being compared to men who managed to keep their homes, their marriages, and their sanity intact. And then, during an interview, Martell slipped again. He admitted without realizing it that he struggles with losing control. He spoke about feeling unheard. He spoke about feeling misunderstood. He hinted at wanting his life to go back to what it was before everything fell apart. That small moment, that one raw confession, told viewers everything they needed to know. Martell isn't the villain he pretends not to be. He's a man who refuses to heal. A man who is terrified of accountability. A man who still craves the validation he lost when his family broke apart. And at 42, that desperation is louder than any accusation he tries to make against someone else. What makes this chapter of Martell's life so heartbreaking is that the consequences no longer fall only on him. His children are watching their father unravel publicly. Melody is trying to maintain peace while dealing with a man who doesn't understand boundaries. His former castmates are distancing themselves to protect their own families. His reputation is fading with every outburst, every accusation, every denial. People once believed Martell could grow. They wanted to see him evolve, take accountability, and become a better man after losing everything. But instead, he slipped deeper into the same habits. The anger. The jealousy. The lack of self-control. The need for attention. Watching him argue with castmates half his age, chasing old drama, and repeating the same emotional patterns has created a sadness around his name. Fans aren't even angry anymore, they're disappointed. Because they see a man who could have rebuilt his entire life if he had simply stopped fighting everyone around him. His children will someday watch the episodes, read the comments, and understand what happened between their parents. And no child deserves to carry the weight of their father's mistakes. No child deserves to see their parent blamed for their own downfall. But Martell can't see that yet, because he's still fighting battles that ended years ago. At 42, most people start finding clarity. They look at where they've been and where they want to go. But Martell is stuck between who he used to be and who he refuses to become. And the emotional cost is written all over his face, the tension, the frustration, the exhaustion he tries to hide. His downfall isn't happening because people hate him. It's happening because he won't stop hurting himself. Martell Holt is standing at a crossroads. One path leads to healing, real healing, where he stops pointing fingers and starts looking inward. That path requires humility, honesty, therapy, accountability, and the courage to face the man he became after breaking his family apart. The other path leads exactly where he's been heading, deeper into chaos, deeper into public embarrassment, deeper into the same emotional patterns that cost him everything he once had. At 42, Martell can't keep blaming the world. He can't keep recycling the same excuses. He can't keep hiding behind new scandals or dragging other people's marriages into his mess. Because the world sees him now. Not the polished version he once sold. Not the charismatic husband from season 1. Not the successful businessman people admired. This version of Martell, tired, angry, grasping for control, is fully exposed. He did that to himself. He lit the fire. He added the gasoline. And now he's standing in the smoke wondering why he can't breathe. But here's the truth he still needs to face. Growth is still possible. Redemption is still possible. He can still become a better father, a better partner, a better man if he chooses to stop running from the truth. But if he keeps hiding behind drama, the world will only remember him as the man who destroyed everything he loved and then pointed fingers at everyone else. Martell Holt exposed himself at 42. Now the real question is, will he finally change, or will this be the moment he loses everything for good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.